Welcome into the AL Recruiting Power 5 podcast, where we have a player interview today. I'm excited to be joined by Trevor Weldon. He's the kicker for the University of Miami Hurricanes. Trevor, glad to have you on today, man.
Thank you for having me.
Well, Trevor, you're our first special teams guest. We've had a special teams coach, but we haven't had a player. And so kind of get into today to people that may be listening. How did you get into kicking?
So I've been playing football since second grade. I grew up in Charlotte, playing Pop Warner, and really, I think most kickers come from a soccer background, but I personally never played soccer. Really how I got into it was we were at practice one day, and one of the coaches was like, "Who wants to try out for onside kicks?" And I ended up winning that job. Was just doing onside kicks for like 2 years, didn't think anything of it, and then someone came up and asked me if I've ever tried to kick any field goals before, and so I started trying to get into that, and then I liked it, kind of fell in love with it, and then went from there. Started training with one of my coaches there. Just kept progressing, gotten better, and never looked back.
Well, I came to one of your high school games. I had no idea you were there. I had no idea who was on the field when I showed up. But I
Mhm.
got out of my truck. I got to the game late. I got out of my truck and I heard you kick. I didn't see you, but I heard the kick, and I told my wife, I said, "There's a Division I kicker on this field. I don't know who he is. I don't know which team he plays for, but I heard the kick, and I knew there was a player on the field." And so you went through this recruiting process. What is it like for kickers? I have some insight on skill players, linemen, all those other players, but what is recruiting like for kickers specifically?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot slower. Kickers specifically, I think, have to be more proactive in the recruiting process. Obviously, like if you're a 4-star, 5-star receiver, running back, quarterback, the coaches are going to come find you, just from and probably reach out to you. I think kicking. I mean, some kickers get looks and coaches will reach out to them a lot, but I think kicking the most like important thing in the recruiting process is to put yourself out there, reach out to as many coaches as possible. I think definitely going to camps and putting yourself on ranking systems. Like personally, I used Coles. Been kicking with them for a long time, and I think all those things help. But yeah, I think the main difference between skill positions and kicking is just the amount of proactiveness you kind of have to put in and getting yourself out there rather than them coming to find you.
Yeah, this is an additional question, but just so everybody kind of understands that process, when did you start hearing from Miami and when did that kind of all unfold?
I was taught they obviously just got a new staff with Coach Cristobal last year, and I was taught. I've been my grandfather lives down there, so anytime we'd go down there, I'd try to hit up one of their coaches. So I was really talking to the old staff a lot. But then once they went away, I wasn't really sure who to reach out to and stuff. So, but then it was kind of late in the recruiting process of my senior year. I got reached out by the new staff and kind of all unfolded from there. But yeah, I mean, I've been talking to them and going to their camp since I think my freshman and sophomore year of high school. So that was always my favorite school growing up. So I always was putting a lot of effort into going to that one. But yeah,
Well, that worked out, man. That's perfect.
yeah.
So, kickers now that are in high school, especially, what's your advice to them?
Um, I mean, especially like I said in the recruiting process, just being proactive. Film can only go so far. I mean, so many kickers nowadays can put on film them hitting 50-yard plus, and a lot of coaches can obviously see that. But I think the best thing for kickers is to get yourself out there, travel a lot as much as you can to where you can do either private sessions or camps with special teams coaches in college, because there's nothing like seeing it in person, obviously.
Mhm.
Like I said, so many, if you look at three kickers that are on like online with film, there's only so much you can tell. But if you're in person, then you can also create a connection with the coach. Whereas it's not just watching a video.
Yeah, I can attest to seeing it in person, and I said that about hearing your kick and then watching you kick. And
Mhm.
I've watched a lot of high school football games, a lot,
Yeah,
but there's just not many kickers that I've ever seen or heard that hit the ball or struck the ball like you do. And
thank you.
so, well, for me, that was something like,
Yeah.
um, people ask all the time, how do you know a prospect is a prospect, or how do you know a guy's a power five? And
Mm,
it's I've gotten to the point where I say, well, you just know, you just watch enough football and you know. And I had never seen a kicker where I heard it and saw it and I was like, okay, I know he's legit. And that was that was for me was one of the indicators like, okay, you still learn. I've been
yeah.
doing this for 13 years and you learn through this process, and you were one of the guys I learned from and watching you kick a little bit.
Thank you.
Well, you've played football obviously a long time. Now you play in college. What's your best memory of football so far?
I'd say probably back to my senior year of high school. I think it was our second or third game. It was a very slow game, very defensively battled, and not neither offense was really getting too many places. So the final score was 6-0. Coming off of two field goals. I think my first one was in the first half. Like I think it was a 44-yarder, and then the second one came in the second half. I think it was a 50-yarder, which ended up breaking my school's record, which was pretty cool moment. So it was kind of just cool to feel uh kind of needed because like you said, like in high school, I feel like kickers, you can make an impact, but it's obviously uh not a huge impact. So that game specifically, it was cool to feel the impact because their team didn't have a kicker. And like one of my coaches said, that if we didn't have a kicking game, we'd probably still be here till the next morning playing the game. It'd still be 0-0. So it was just kind of cool to feel the need and impact I made on that game specifically.
Yeah, and you can't discount high school kickers, especially that can hit a touchback every time.
Yeah.
That's huge because there's
Hmm.
sometimes, especially if the other team has a guy that's an electric returner,
Hmm.
and you can take the ball out of his hands for every return, because oftentimes in high school you don't have special teams guys that can match up to that kind of returner. So even if you can't hit field goals, if you can hit them out of into the end zone or out of the back of the end zone in high school, you can really change the game by keeping it out of a guy's hands every kickoff.
Definitely. Yeah. Field positions definitely huge in high school. It
Yeah.
was definitely a big advantage for us.
Yeah, I remember that about the game I watched you play. They never got a I don't think they ever got a return on kickoff.
Hmm.
Um so now you're at Miami. What's ahead for you there?
I think just keep working hard. We have a good group of kickers. I'm gonna just keep working hard. I've enjoyed it so far. Like I said, that's always where I wanted to be. But just kind of enjoying the process, but also competing as much as I can and just elevating my game. Definitely being in a Power Five. I mean, weight room and just being able to train with those guys every day helps a lot, and to keep elevating my game and to be the best kicker I can possibly be.
Yeah, I mean, I think that but that's every player. I mean,
Mhm.
everybody, just if you will work hard, if you'll put in the work when nobody's watching. And I've seen you on social media. I saw you out the other day.
Yeah,
I follow you, and you're still working even when you're not on campus. And so that's what has to be done to achieve at a Power Five level. And if you ever want a chance at moving on to the NFL, that's what you got to do to get it done.
definitely. Yeah.
All right, buddy. Well, man, as a podcast, we wish you nothing but the best. I just want to say thank you for hopping on with us, giving us some insight to special teamers, because we need it. I want to help everybody that wants to know about recruiting, parents that want to know about recruiting, and so if you're not following Trevor, if you're a kicker, long snapper, punter, and you're not following Trevor, follow him right now. Reach out to him, ask him questions. He's a great follow, good insight on what to do. He really did put himself out there in the recruiting process, and so I just want to encourage everybody to follow you. And if they have questions, can they reach out to you?
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. Well, Trevor, thank you so much for being on today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.
All right. Wish you nothing but the best. Have a great fall season. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Like, subscribe, and God bless everyone.